everyone, Cohen here. So this video is gonna be my first video on this channel. It's gonna be about my games from the tournament games that I play. This channel is chess games I'm gonna play, obviously. As you can see, this board. So this game here is in the Julian Mazur Memorial tournament. This is round 1. This is the first classical game I have ever played over the board. I'm versing Jamie Webster, who is 1739 rated. I'm unrated because I haven't played a game yet. I did preparation before this game, and I saw that he was I knew more or less what the first 10 moves or so he was gonna play, and I was right. So start off with e4. I played c5 because that's what I usually play. Sicilian is what I do. He played knight f3, just preparing d4. I played the move I always play in the Sicilian, which is e6. It's quite nice, I find. Anyway, you can watch video on that if you want. You're here to see this game. He played d4. And the only move here is to take, really. So I took. He took with his knight. Knight f6. It's the pawn. Knight c3. Knight c6. So I knew, I was 100% sure we were going to get to this position. I was not 100% sure what he was going to play here, but I was 90% sure. But he did play what I expected, which is knight d to b5. And here I went for d6. Nowadays I usually play bishop b5, which goes into non-Sveshnikov lines. But here I played d6, which allows white to transpose back to the Sveshnikov. In fact, they pretty much have to transpose back into Sveshnikov. There's not really any other moves. What have I just done? So the move is bishop f4. You just hit the pawn. Only move really here is e5, and now after bishop g5, we're back in the Sveshnikov after a6, knight a3, and b5. So here, you can either go here or here. My opponent chooses to go for this, just applying more pressure. This is still very common theory in the Sveshnikov. As you can see, 10,000s in the master database been played. I played bishop e7, which is the main move by far. By the way, this is all still in my prep. I knew I was pretty sure he was going to play all this. So takes. I took. Played c3. You can also go for c4, and that's another line in the Sveshnikov. That's usually what I play as white against the Sveshnikov. Of course, as black, I don't play the Sveshnikov anymore. I do the bishop e4 line. Although here, after c3, the You can either play bishop g5 first, or there's a lot of moves here. Main move is just a castle before you make your decision. You don't commit to anything yet. Still theory. Knight c2. I went bishop g5. So I didn't really study before this game very well, and for some reason I just prepared a lot more for h4 than I did for a4, even though, as you can see down here, a4 is much more popular a move. So he did play a4. I knew here you had to take, but I wasn't quite sure what you have to do after this. So I took. He took. Here the moves. The move is a5, just making the pawn a lot less delicate. But what I played is knight e7, which, as you can see here, has a very low win rate for black. Because it just puts them in a bad position most of the time, and I did get a not great position from this at the start. Anyway, that's what I played. In the perfect world, I wanted to trade it off. Obviously, it's not what he did. He played knight c to b4, just reinforcing. I played a5. This has still been played quite a few times. I played a5. He took. Now here in this position, queen takes is almost always played, but I didn't want to be hit with tempo after knight in here, so I took with the bishop, which has still one game played between two strong 2400s in 2016. The game ended in a draw, although here he played knight d5. I mean, you can probably go here or something, but then you're forced to take this off. But anyway, so played this, putting in a nice square. I played bishop d7, which is the move that's been played, and this transposes back into some other games. So here bishop c4 is played. Wait, hold on a second, I think I got it wrong. Actually, here in this position I played bishop d7, which is what was played in the game between the two 2400s. I didn't go the one that transposes. But here in this position, the two 2400s, one of the one played rook to a3, and I guess it's a more active square for the rook. You can always go c4 and bring it over to the king side with this idea. You can also go rook a2, I thought, in the game, because then this is always defended. But I guess it's a bit bad. You probably need to move your pawn to bring it to d2, and then it will do something. Anyway, in the game, rook a1 is played, and it is as of move 19 that we have a completely new game. This has never been played by any masters before. I'm sure it's been played before by amateurs, but that's not the database I'm using. So so here played bishop c6 because I want to get rid of the knight. I think if the queen landed or the pawn landed here, if the pawn landed here, I think f4 and these two pawns would stand quite nicely and have big kingside space. And if queen takes, then I'd probably probably find some way to bring my rook here in the future and kick the queen out. I could even go here, I guess. Although maybe that another thing about it, I wasn't actually going to take here immediately in the game. I'm not sure. It's just putting pressure. The game was played a long time ago. Bishop c4, because they want to land the bishop on the square, so it'll be quite strong. And here I played an inaccurate move. The position's already quite tough for me, but computer suggests a4, which I wasn't even thinking of. It also suggests g6 and king h8, which are all just weird moves, and that just leaves me with a worse position, but it's not atrocious. What I played in the game was damn it, these arrows. What I played in the game was bishop takes d5, which just allows them to have a really strong bishop, or even queen if they want, just targeting this. They played bishop takes. The evaluation now is plus 1.5, but they don't convert that very well, as you'll see. So I played rook here. It hits the pawn. It hits the pawn, and here, I'll turn on the engine again. I feel like, what you should play is queen c7, queen e2, queen d2, one of these moves. This and this are a bit passive, and what they played in the game, which is b3, just seems a bit, shut up, engine. Shut up, engine, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what you're talking about. So, in the game, b3 was played. But here, this allows queen c7 to hit this pawn. And here they really, here they really need to, not commit their pawn to c4, which is what they played in the game. It's just too weakening. It just allows me to capitalize on that mistake and just get equalize at least. So they played this though, and I played queen b6 because now this pawn's hit again. Computer's saying best moves to just go h4, probably to go h5 or to castle, and that's fine as well. What they played in the game just won't do it, because I mean, you need to, because the thing is, what they played in the game doesn't actually prevent losing the pawn. Which is, they played rook b1, which doesn't actually defend the pawn. I mean, it does, but not enough. It doesn't defend it really, because after this you might think, oh, you can't go here. I'm going to tell us this. You can't play a4, because then they'll just go b4, and then what are you doing? This is a passed pawn, and so is this, but I mean, obviously can't take because free rook. But what I can do here, and they have such a strong bishop that it's not even better for me. It's still equal after this move. Queen b4. So that's check, and they may have thought so the threat is a4 here, right? So they may have thought this. I still can't take and play this, but I can actually just play a4 anyway. It doesn't change anything. After queen takes, rook takes, I'm just gonna win this pawn, and my positions, and after the queen's traded off, it's, you know, still white could definitely draw this with best play, because the bishop's strong, and it's opposite color bishop's end anyway, so they're very drawish if it gets down to that endgame. So rook takes b4. They played king d2, just bringing their other rook in. I'm pretty sure in that position I expected them to just castle. They didn't do that though. They played king here, which is fair enough because you want to bring a king closer. I played this. Just saying, I don't want to. I'm gonna delay taking that pawn. So in this position, the computer's now saying it's preferring black, but it's saying you can go king c3, you can bring your rook, you can just sack a pawn, so this is defended. What they did is really not a very good move, because it just allows me to take control of the whole b file with no struggle. So what they played was rook a1, rook takes b3. This is probably already winning for me because of just how strong, you know, all my pressure on the b file is. But here you'd think I would take with the pawn because I don't want to lose my pawn here, like takes and takes. But no, I just took here. And what he overlooked, he was just like, he was probably just like, what the hell? This guy just hung a pawn. No, I'm fine again. Let's go. But what he overlooked was that after rook takes a4, I actually have rook b2 check. I actually have rook b2 check, and if he goes here, here, or here, maiden 1, and they just have no way to escape. It's maiden 1. If he goes back rank, I just go rook b1 check. They go back wherever they want to go, and I take the rook, and I'm just up a rook. It's just a free rook. So what they probably should have played here, after even after rook takes b3, they're still fine if they don't take that pawn. They need to play c5 is the move here that you can play and probably hold the game. The only other moves that the computer's suggesting would maybe hold rook h to d1, which is this, and rook a2. These moves seem to be holding. Rook a2 maybe less so, but these two moves seem to be holding. I'm not quite sure why. Obviously this hits this, but yeah, and if this check, you obviously go back rank because of here, then it's still mate. And then after that, you could, yes, it could be takes, then this pawn could be taken, and you can, it's probably just a lot more drawn because you win this pawn. And if I try and save this pawn, then it's not very good because they can get their pass pawn to c6, and that looks dangerous. So yeah, but after rook takes b3, they played rook takes a4. I played rook b2, and they just resigned because they realized that they messed up. So that's my first ever classical game, and I won, which is good news.